Okay, get started. Agenda tonight. Call the meeting to order. Jamestown City Council work session, Monday, May 2nd. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Sheldon?
Here.
Rackman? Gruba?
Here.
Reynolds?
Present.
Faulkner?
Here.
Eklund? Here. DeVersa?
Here.
Russell?
Here.
And President Dawes.
Here. This time we'll give the opportunity for the public to comment. If you'd like to address the council, please give your name, address, limit your remarks to 5 minutes. If anybody would like to speak tonight?
I'll just go real quick. Is that okay?
Go ahead, you got the floor.
I'm here to do nice things. So I don't know, everyone noticed that my name is Missy Melissa Paternity, 346 Faulkner Street, Jamestown. Sorry. So I had these, I got ththey from the credit union. They had a stack of them and said they were free. It's kind of cool that each day has its national day, and I know it's kind of something different, so I figured I'd bring everybody one. I was hoping Dan Stone would be here to give this to him and the city. Throughout the years, I've taken a lot of pictures, and they just did this thing through the Chautauqua Gallery, kind of during COVID, that we could take pictures down and they would sell them online, and I think it was donated like $2,000 to the Tree USA for the city. So I had some extra pictures when I was developing them, so I kind of did a little collage of all the pictures from different seasons, and wanted to give it to the city because I know that this is a very tough time. Everybody's kind of at 50-50. What should we do? What should we do? I mean, this was part of my childhood. My aunt lived right in the middle of 3rd Street, so I was always by the trees my whole life. So I just kind of took some pictures. This is the last tree. I actually sat and watched this last tree be bulldozed, but taken down about 15 minutes or so. And the last tree is in the middle of the road, and I just thought that was kind of a cool picture. And then just all the different seasons. So I'll just give this to Eddie, and then he can do that.
Don't put that in your living room.
No, it'll be in City Hall.
And I did sign it because I'm an artist.
Come on.
Very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I am disappointed though, it's truffle day, we didn't bring truffles.
I got it, and I just, hey. Next.
Wednesday to know is firefighters day.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and another thing too, during the week of the 11th through the 17th is National Police Appreciation Week. I thankfully have a lot of connections in the city of Jamestown, so each night during that week, either during the day or at night, the police will be fed by the community, and I think that's great. I made 7 phone calls and got 6 yeses, and one person's gonna do it twice. And I thought that was pretty amazing how, Chief Jackson, I give you a lot of props, man. A lot of stuff's going on in the city, and, you just do your due diligence, and, try, you guys are out there doing stuff, and I really appreciate JPD. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, that leads me right into the I'm not gonna talk about this very much because I understand.
Name and address.
Doug Champ, 225 Owen Street, Jamestown, New York, 45 years resident. Anyway, I presented to the Public Safety Committee my concerns of no action in terms of the American Rescue Plan funding for the Jamestown Police Department. In my calculations, there's been only 4 actions that have taken place. Motor vehicles, portable radios, new data collectors, $9,000 for Glocks. A total of $418,000. That represents 1% of the American Rescue Plan monies. 1%. Come on, this is not what the American Plan was all about. It was for public safety, public health, and economic recovery. You just throw out the door a little while ago $5.2 million kind of like a shotgun approach of what economic development is gonna be in Jamestown in the future. All that remains to be seen. But what is the need now? Saturday just reinforced my point, domestic violence. In fact, the federal government was so imperative about this that they wanted cities to double down on this. You haven't even got the first down. So I hope the message has been sent. And the administration's on board, and city council's on board. These guys in the police department need manpower. This equipment is fine, it's a nice thing to have. But if you don't want the manpower, street crimes, traffic control, gun violence, forget about the attraction to the city of Jamestown. The people are gonna say, don't go there, it's gonna be homicide. I know you only have one, but it's early. The other thing I want to talk about is Jamestown Local Development Corporation, which in past history I had a lot of work with. I looked at the website, and according to the website of the city of Jamestown, the last minutes posted on the website for the Local Development Corporation was November 17th, 2021. According to their bylaws, you got 14 days to put the notices out of what was accomplished at that meeting. The juror is even worse. Their last minutes posted on their website was February 18th, 2021. What's going on? I know the pandemic and you don't have quorums or you do Zoom or whatever. That doesn't stop you from not having minutes so the public can understand what these two vital organizations are doing. In addition to that, I would urge that the city council all read the last statement from the Jamestown Development Corporation and look at their accomplishments over the last year. They only did one loan. One loan. The financial statement that they have is not all that great. $500,000 was not recovered. It's considered a written off debt. So now you're gonna give them $500,000 to do what? Who's gonna do the work? What are they going to do? How much, and besides, ARPA money is really not a loan pool. It's more of a grant awarded system. So how do you track grants and how do you measure the cost? I had suggested a long time ago that each activity have its own complete cross-section of revenue and cost and administration cost be parceled out based on activities, not in a block format. So whether you choose to do this tonight or not, but I ask any of you, have you all read the last statement from the Jamestown Development Local Corporation? Have you read it? If you haven't read it, how can you vote on it? So I rest my case. I think it's important that we understand what this money is used for and how it is going to be tracked. And by the way, it's $500,000. Is that in addition to the tracking and the monitoring? Is that an added amount to this? And how does that differ? How does that differ with actually monitoring all these activities, whether they're right or wrong? I would assume that the administration has a good idea of what is right or wrong. That's what the controller does. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our committees. Do the housing one first.
Whatever is your pleasure, Mr. President. Thank you. We did not have any resolutions. We did have Mary Maxwell from the Jamestown Renaissance Corporation come to discuss hands-on neighborhood. It is in English and the reverse side is in Spanish for the whole community. The first event will be Saturday, May 21st from 8 a.m. to noon at Tracy Plaza. This has been historically started in the downtown area and that will continue. We are encouraging communities, neighborhoods to get involved and volunteer. You do not have to pick that day, that event, but you can get equipment on loan from our Parks Department to conduct a hands-on cleanup in your own neighborhood. They encourage that also with the Jamestown Renaissance Block Challenge. They've encouraged the groups that are the streets to go and do their own cleanup in their own neighborhoods. They said they have about 12 groups They continue to volunteer and clean up their own neighborhoods, and that's been ongoing for a number of years. This is sponsored by, I should give credit to the Chautauqua County Land Bank, City of Jamestown, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and Jamestown Renaissance Corporation. A number of council members have participated. I know President Doltz, Councilman Sheldon, and myself last year were in the downtown area, and I saw several other people. Some of the churches have volunteered and organized groups. We try to get the schools involved, to get some of the students to get involved. They plan to do some cleanups around the schools. I believe they've also gotten involved and thought it was a great idea. They're doing a lot along the Riverwalk, and they'll be doing that cleanup throughout the summer, I imagine. So if you need any other information, it's posted at their website at chqlandbank.org. You can email them, you can find out more, but volunteers are always appreciated. Anything you can do to help clean up and take pride in the community would be appreciated. And then we had a very brief from the Director of Development. Crystal, did you have anything to add from the cleanup for hands-on neighborhoods?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, they are planning to do this in the county as well, and, you know, Jamestown was the demonstration project, and it's worked very well, so they will be looking to do this in other parts of the county. We had a very brief discussion about the next up-and-coming housing committee meeting, and that would be to discuss some of the numerous grants and funding that's available right now. They thought it was a great idea to have all of this coordinated on the city website for all the different housing organizations in the community, what funding's available to kind of streamline and make it easier for people to find it, so that was pretty much it.
Any questions? And also this Saturday?
Yes. Yes, the walk.
The walk's
is-
in
Yes,
Ward
the annual, it's
5 and
Ward
2.
5 and 2. Yes, it's Washington Middle School, right?
5 is at 10 o'clock
Yes.
at Fletcher, and then at noon
Noon at
at
Washington.
Washington.
Washington Middle School. Right,
Hopefully
thank you
they're
for
very
the reminder.
cooperative.
Yes, that, yes, it is the Department of Development block grant, or not block grant, excuse me.
Annual action plan.
Annual action plan, yes, I know, too many things going on. Thank you, but that's it.
Move on to finance, Kim?
Sure. First resolution was held back for a little bit more of a group discussion. Number 2, second resolution for Lieutenant Rob Ward and Lieutenant Sam Piazza, authorized to attend the FBI LEADA Supervisory Leadership Institute course in May 15th through the 20th in Wexford, Pennsylvania, with training, meals, lodging, and gas expenses paid pursuant to Section 77B of General Municipal Laws was approved. Resolution number 3, that Mayor and Jeff Lehman are authorized to execute change order number 1 to the purchase agreement with Fleet Maintenance of West Seneca for 1 new plow truck dated March 28, 2022, to add a surcharge of $3,800. That was approved. And this was previously approved through ARPA funding resolutions 3 through 6. So this is just finalizing the contract of those resolutions. Resolution number 4 is that the Mayor and Jeff Lehman are authorized and directed to purchase from Fleet Maintenance of West Seneca via the piggyback bid dated 12/10/2018, a new 2023 Freightliner 114 SD truck cable and chassis for a total amount not to exceed $122,760.00, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. That was approved.
Barbecue is a cabin chassis, not a cable.
Yeah, I knew that.
It's a spelling error.
Number 5 is resolved that the mayor and Jeff Lehman, Director of Public Works and Acting Director of Parks, Recreation, and Conservation, are authorized and directed to purchase from Henderson Products of Watertown, New York, via Sourcewell Cooperative Bidding Contract, 1 new spreader body and related components for a total amount not to exceed $123,403.00, subject to the approval of the Corporation Council as to form. That was approved. And resolution number 6, that the mayor and Jeff Lehman are authorized and directed to purchase from Rexel, 500 West 4th Street, Jamestown, New York, 14-period candlestick lighting fixtures for the West 3rd Streetscape project. Total amount not to exceed $45,807.00, subject to the approval of the corporation council as to form. Resolution 7, had a discussion. Crystal presented some information which I believe she gave everyone a copy of, and that was to discuss the resolution designating the $500,000.00 in ARPA economic development funds to obtain ARPA contracting services. Crystal, I don't know if you want to briefly review. We know everybody's going to want to review this more than on their own, so.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys wanna go into too much detail on it, but I wanted to give you a baseline of at least to see how we, and to be frank, we've really been conservative in our estimate, so the $500,000 that we requested to administer these programs, is actually lower than what we feel it will actually cost us to actually do the work. I think that there's some discussion and I know that you have questions. I've not heard any questions yet, but any specific questions, I really encourage everybody to reach out to me and please ask them. I will not be here for the work session on the 16th. So, if there's, call me, email me, come in and meet with me, so we can talk through any questions that you may have. I just wanna say that this is not something that we've ever had to do, right? And so we're looking at administering the 13 programs that were approved, plus any other programs that may be coming on top of everything else that we already have to do. Our code enforcement cases are through the roof. We've had CARES Act funding to get out. We're in the middle of an annual action plan. I think it's important to realize that this is all on top of the normal day-to-day stuff. So making sure that we can execute these and administer these programs in a way that we want them to be done, without giving us some capacity and giving us the tools that we need, I think we would be cutting off our nose to spite our face, so.
I know, just last week alone, I sent 4 people to you, Crystal, regarding the new roof program, gave them your name and your phone number, which is the $750,000 that we already approved, so, I feel that this council needs to move on this resolution, and if we're gonna be handing out millions of dollars, designating millions of dollars to these programs, we have to have someone that's gonna be running this program. I feel that, we can't expect your department to be handling these funds on top of your day-to-day jobs. So I reiterate what you said, if there's council members here that have questions on this $500,000, they need to reach out to you and ask those questions, and we need to get this done. And we need to get someone hired, and we need to move on this.
Crystal, in the form you just sent out, the grant application details, like a worksheet, is there the ARPA program manager / or dash economic development, is there anybody in that post right now, or is that what we're hoping to fill?
That's what we're hoping to fill.
And that's $253,000 estimated.
Yeah,
With all
over
the
the
hours.
course of 4.5 years, so over the full period of time.
Right.
So what we're hoping is, and like I said, this is a conservative estimate, this is 1.5 positions, so 1 full-time equivalent position and 1 part-time equivalent position. The hourly rates are listed there, just as a starting point. I don't even know if we can find someone that would do it for that rate. There's no fringe benefits because we would be considering them a contractor. So they would contract with us at the end of the grant period, and December 31st, 2026, their position would be terminated, so they would enter into an agreement with us knowing that that was the case. So, and then, you know, there's a lot of, I think, questions that we probably still have. So again, this is just a first conservative pass at trying to put together what this full budget need would be. And it still is already higher than what we're asking for. And our ask is certainly a lot less than what a typical administrative allowance would be for grants. So, for instance, HUD allows us a 20% administrative fee for all of our HUD funds, and then there's an additional 10% program administration fee for every single program on top of that 20%. So this, we're asking for roughly 10% total of what was approved. Just to give you an idea of what, you know, the allowable typically is for a grant program to be administered. And just to address one of Doug's questions, this is not to take the place of what an overall tracking person would do. This is having phone calls with people that are calling our department, fielding any questions that people might have about the grant applications, advertising the grants when they're open and available, receiving the grants, pre-screening, or evaluating the grants when they come in. You all saw, we put together an evaluation matrix, all of the criteria, so these people would be going through every single application for every single different program and evaluating each one of those based on the criteria that we determine. And the criteria is different for every grant because every grant is different. So, I mean, that's a lot of time and work to go through, and then to work with all of these individual people or companies. You know, it's going to be really, really time consuming.
If I could add on to that, just as a practical matter for the council, one of the things to keep in mind is that Crystal's entire department, except for a financial coordinator and for the department secretary, are all unionized. And we will most likely, if adding on additional work to these unionized members, we'll probably see a grievance to add more pay. So this is an opportunity for us to try to bring on a contractor and to try to share that cost before we start to see the unionized members of her department demand more pay for more work. Not saying it'll necessarily happen, but that's just the practicality of the work that we do.
Okay, any other immediate questions you've had a chance to review?
Just to piggyback what Jeff said too, is that the question that I asked is that this is pretty typical of other communities in dealing with these ARPA funds, that they have to bring on people to help administer them, so. We're not unique in that, so.
Yeah.
Okay, the last, resolved that the City of Jamestown Management Employee Guidelines are further revised and updated. Effective retroactive to January 1, 2022. I did read through a lot of this. I do have, Elliot did answer the one question about the additional holiday pay, where one is now becoming a floating holiday. I did ask him to provide to council that does not in fact add another day, so we won't have grievances from other unions. Want the verbiage for that clarified, and then I have to read through it a little more, but can you provide me with the change? It was not in here. The department had an exempt salary schedules. I know that they are adjusted. I wanna see the old versus the new.
I believe they were redlined in here originally.
I don't see it.
Okay, we're happy to provide some additional copies with you. Are there any other changes? I know we've gone through several revisions of this, and I think we've accomplished everything the council's asked us for.
I don't think so. I just wanted to read through it a little better. There was one thing I think I had some clarification on, but I wanted to make sure I understand it correctly.
Okay. Would you like it put back on the agenda for next week then, just to confirm?
Oh, that would be fine.
Okay.
That would be fine.
Upstairs, 2 weeks, you're right, thank you.
I don't know if anybody else had a chance to read through all the highlighted and changes and if they have any other questions.
Besides the holiday pay, nothing else has changed in the last couple months the council's had.
The range and the titles, right?
The base salary for the assistants as requested by the council.
did have two new items for Ryan to discuss, and that was the Q1 financial outlook as well as 2021. And, Ryan, the floor is yours.
All right, I'm gonna start off with the 2021 year-end financial results. It's in your packet that you all received as a chart. I'm just gonna walk through that first. So at the very top of that chart, you can see our 2021 budgeted revenues at 35.1 million versus our expenditures of 35.6 roughly. So we were anticipating a deficit of $400,000 in 2021. The actual results here at the very bottom, you can see our revenues were $37,358,000, which was $2.2 million above the original budget. And then from an expenditure standpoint, we were pretty much flat at $35.6 million, $69,000 higher than what was originally budgeted. So pretty flat there. So from that standpoint, we end up with a surplus of $1.7 million, so an excellent result. And just jumping into some of the highlights and the reasons why this happened. So first off, our sales tax came in at $7.96 million versus a budget of $6.7, $1.2 million higher than what was originally budgeted. So obviously that is driving the surplus significantly. The state highway aid, our CHIPS funding from New York State DOT, we ended up spending roughly $1.9 million as opposed to our original plan of $870,000. So Jeff and his team were very busy last year, spending a lot of money from the state. State aid per capita up about $114,000 to original budget. Parking, lots of meters violations down. Some local revenues, a lot of local revenues were down. We're down $197,000 there. Our public safety salaries were up $300,000, and that was driven by the fact that we renegotiated those two contracts with the police and the fire departments. And then health and dental insurance down $1.1 million, and utilities down $81,000. So those are the key components I wanted to hit on for 2021. If you look on the next page, you can see what this does for our fund balance. You can see where the fund balance has been over the last six years or so. And so we originally, last year, ended at $5.9 million in 2020 of total fund balance. That $1.7 million surplus brings us up to $7.7 million in fund balance. I do want to just point out we should really be focusing on the unassigned fund balance because there's a portion of that fund balance that's assigned to our 2022 budget, $700,000 deficit that we anticipate in 2022. And then you also have some non-spendable assets in there, prepaid pension expense and inventory items. So the $5.7 million is really the number we want to focus on. So that's where we ended the year 2021. The New York State GFOA, or the Finance Officers Association, they recommend that you have your unassigned fund balance at 2 months of expenditures, and that's for us about $6.4 million. So we're not quite there yet, but we're certainly headed in the right direction. And the only other caveat I wanted to mention on this is we have received over the last 6-7 years an additional $1 million from New York State, and without that, we wouldn't have the fund balance that we have now, really. So, and that is not, in 2021, we did not receive the extra $1 million. Anyone have any specific questions in 2021?
What we're anticipating.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, with that, we'll move to 2022. So far this year, there's really not a whole lot of surprises so far. Of the BPU pilots, overall, we're looking trending up about 3%, which would put us over budget by $100,000 from a revenue standpoint, so that's a plus. The parking lots and garages are still struggling and not generating enough revenue to cover the operating expenses. So for the first quarter, we were roughly losing $9,600 for those first 3 months in our parking revenue. So that's certainly something we're going to focus on going forward. EMS revenues, the fire department, and the new billing that we've put in, we've already received 68% of what we budgeted in 2022. For the first 4 months, we're averaging about $28,000 a month. And if you realize that out, that's roughly $335,000. We only budgeted $164,000, so that's a certain requests there, we could end up $171,000 over budget. We have not received our sales tax payment yet, hoping to get that in the next few days and give the council an update at the next work session. And then on the expenditure side, there's not a whole lot of surprises. Gas is the big one. Obviously with the price of gas going up, I'm anticipating it will be anywhere from $130,000 to $150,000 over budget from a gasoline standpoint. And hopefully we'll make up some of that on the other side with sales tax. So. And then we purchased roughly $305,000 worth of salt in the spring-winter season. It's not out of the ordinary. That's right in line with what we've spent over the last couple of years, so we're in good shape looking forward for the rest of the year from the salt budget standpoint. And we've only spent $22,000 of our $350,000 contingency fund, so we're in good shape there as well. Any more questions from me?
The one other thing I asked Ryan to get together to present to me and then to the full council is the pending expenses that are coming under ARPA that we know we may be facing. I asked him to put together a report to put in front of our faces because there are some other concerns coming down the pipe. That's it, out of finance.
Public safety, Brent?
We had the Senate resolution to authorize, excuse me, Robert Samuelson, 200 acre system at the National Academy. It was approved by our committee. Was approved, authorizing Lieutenant Rob Ward and Lieutenant Frank Piazza to attend the FBI LEDA Supervisor Leadership Institute, SLI, in Pennsylvania. Information reports, we had several special event permits that we have permitted and approved. First being third Thursday, to be held on Thursdays, May 19th through September 19th, and Underground Plaza. This is coming back after a couple of year absence of the pandemic. Same as the Memorial Day Parade will be held Monday, May 30th, beginning at 9 a.m., coming back again.
The parade is at 10.
Lineup is at
Oh, the
9.
lineup's 9, okay.
But the parade starts at 10.
Correct.
Just want to make sure so people understand that if they see it. Not waiting until 10.
We'll postcards from the
You what?
Veterans Council. We'll probably get the postcards from the Veterans Council.
I'm not sure what's going on, but you will get an invite one way or another.
We also approved the Jamestown Public Market to be held Saturdays beginning on June 11th, concluding October 29th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. along West 3rd Street, North and Cherry Street. And we also approved the annual Juneteenth Festival, which was held last year, June 17th through Sunday, June 19th at the Jackson Taylor Park. And we also approved the World Series of Wheels to be held Saturday, July 23rd, with a rain date of Sunday, July 24th, from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Parkman Park. It's nice to have some of these events coming back that I've been missing for a couple of years. And finally, we had a discussion on the Jamestown Pride Festival. They've filled out their application. We have department approval before we approve this, so we will be bringing that back for approval at our next work session in June. That's all for public safety.
I just wanted to add a comment about number 5 in the public market. Ms. Carlson brought up that she's had an issue with cars parking down in that area while the event is going on, while the market's going on every Saturday. Now, there is no parking from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. downtown. You can be ticketed for that, or your vehicle could be towed. But she's talking about after that, she asked us if it was possible if we could placard downtown in that area with permanent signage that says there's no parking in that area on Saturdays from this time to this time during these months. She says what she's doing now is she's been putting up her own handmade paper signs, which obviously are not enforceable. They fold down if it starts raining, they don't stay up. and she was looking for some assistance from the city to put permanent signage there, so people don't park, in the market area, on Saturdays between those times. I don't know if that would be a public safety, thing, or would that be another committee?
We can certainly look into it. I know in the past we've always just had folks do paper signs, but we can certainly see what's out there and get back to you all.
My only concern is exactly what she said, it's not enforceable. So, I mean, the police can't take the car, or they can't tow a car, if someone is putting up their own paper sign.
She did say some of the cars are parked over the night too, which is not supposed to be considered, so she has called the police department, have some of them removed. But they could still come in after 7 o'clock, park there while the vendors are free, so it's an issue.
We'll certainly get together with our police chief and our parking enforcement and see if there's something that we could do. Thank you for bringing that up.
Move on, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. President. The pieces of equipment were discussed in finance, and that would be 3 through 6. There was a price change on it, and that's like, or some of the resolutions. And so there's an increase in price, and we approved those pieces of equipment.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
Is there discussion on the memorial day?
The memorial day?
There was, we come up with, there definitely, if it's gonna be on the right of way between the street and the sidewalk, we're worried about liability for one thing, whether it be a motorcycle or bicycle that happens to hit anything that's put there, that's endorsed by the city. I think there'd be a liability issue. And we think at this time, we decided to at least table it with a little more. There wasn't a lot of intricacies that were explained, and so we'd have to hear more, but at this time, we tabled that discussion.
Any questions? All right, nothing else for the council, mayor, remarks?
Like that mayor time, let's do it. So a couple updates for the city council as we start to get into what seems to be very busy summer season with the amount of events that are going on. It's so great to start to see people again and to be able to gather once more. A couple updates, or I should say a lot of updates for the council. We've been very busy. First and foremost, probably next week, I know I've had some individual conversations with council members. Our staff is working on 2 neighborhood programs for ARPA funding. So we should be able to provide some more information on those at the next council meeting. I know many of you have asked for programs where we can try to get funds out the door quickly for home revitalization. We are working on 2 programs that do also involve some tax incentives as well. So more information to come on those. I do want to let the council know that this was the end of tax collection. We've collected about 91% of our taxable amount, and the rest is turned over to the county for anything else that might be in arrears. So on average, that's what we normally collect, Ryan? Collect? Yes. So around 91% of the taxes, the rest again is turned over to the county, so pretty good. We are working with Jeff's department and Public Works on the streets master list. We'll be getting that out soon. We're going to be meeting internally about it. We'll have some discussions with our Public Works committee, and then we'll also ask the council for any further feedback before we finalize that list. I know that's been a lot of questions, and we've all received a lot of calls on the streets. We are bidding out pretty far and still working on projects that have been kind of lingering for a while, so we're trying to get those together. I am pleased to say, let's see if we have the fire chief behind us. I am pleased to say that, announce that the fire department has moved to a paperless automated system, which many of you we've talked about for a long time in combination with the county. They have started a new world system, which is integrated with the county dispatch and with the police department. So we're very excited by that. Chief Coon, it's working well so far?
Very well. It's been very well
Good.
received. Our compliance has come up considerably. The members are very happy, and we continue to build and go forward.
Excellent. So as you all remember, we were still using carbon copy paper, I believe, in the fire department. And so we've now moved to an automated system, computers in each station. We're working on tablets and mobile computers in the fire trucks and others. So we've, in the last year or two, we've moved the fire department very quickly to automate most of their systems. So we're very excited about that. The other item to note is that our team has been working and had some initial conversations on splash pads. I've had many conversations with council members about that. We are evaluating other different and potential sites for splash pads. So more information to come for the council. There is a lot more due diligence that needs to be completed in this process. I know many of you may have remembered 2019, there was some discussion on locations for splash pads. The splash pads themselves have changed a little bit in the last couple of years. So we have had some discussions with various consulting firms on helping us trying to identify the proper locations with some soil borings and others. So more to come on that. Just wanted to give you all a heads up. Many of you have reached out to me and asked me about the potential for splash pads. So we are working through that internally and hope to have something for the city council in due course. On the same note, we are also working with an organization called the Mayor's Innovation Project, which is with the University of Wisconsin-Madison. They are helping us put together an economic development study for the city, which will help us to determine a baseline of where businesses are at in the city. One of the things we really wanted to know is how do we gauge the health of the business community in the city before we start injecting a lot of economic development funds into it. So they're putting together a research study of best practices from cities across the country on what metrics they use to determine the health of the business community in an area. So we're hoping to be able to help determine how we are doing on a metric that is more than just sales tax. I know it's a question that we often get, and they're helping us put that study together, and we hope to have that in the next month or two. So we're very excited about that. The other item to note, we should have benefit statements coming out to employees. Council members will typically get those too. They're your overall benefits package that each employee will get, how much is paid by the city, how much they pay, to better understand what goes into their average paycheck. I also wanted to make sure we didn't get a chance to at the last council session, just to thank our Parks Department and our unions for the Easter egg hunt that occurred at Allen Park. We have one of the bunnies that came here with us. I won't point that out because the Easter bunny is sacred. But we're really excited to have the support of our Parks Department and our unions, as well as several community sponsors that helped put that together. I believe it was the 74th annual Easter egg hunt with some modifications to the last one, if you all remember that one. It was a drive-through. I will be heading to NICOM this week for their annual conference, so I will make sure that I report back on anything that we find, but there is sure to be some really strong discussions on bail reform, as well as changes that have occurred in the budget, and I'll make sure I bring that back to you all at our next work session. But I will be gone this week briefly for a meeting for NICOM. And two more items you may have seen in your packet. We did have a grant update from our grant writer, Paula Schoen. So in the 5 months that she has been with us, I'm proud to say we've already, under her watch, received 5 awards amounting to $1.142 million. And then she had also helped and assisted with, although didn't fully write, additional grants. So total in the first few months of 2022, the city has already brought in $2.764 million in grant writing, with a grant writer. So I wanted to just thank the city council for investing in that. It's clearly paid off. That funding is separate from what JCC is doing. They have a very different set of grants. We find that ours tend to be smaller amounts and quicker turnarounds versus JCC grants are much higher grants, much larger grants that take a long time to kind of percolate and develop. But she is working both with JCC and the city, and we have found the ability to access grants that we may not have seen before just because of the partnership with Jamestown Community College and the city. So it's been really great to have. And again, I want to thank the city council for allowing us to invest in that, and just we'll give you periodic updates of how we're doing on that funding. And lastly, I do anticipate that next week I'll have some presentations for the city council on some public safety updates as well as some information. And I apologize that I'm going to say this in advance, but we're going to talk about snow plowing. I know snow is a dirty word right now. We're hoping it's behind us, but as we want to do some pre-planning as we get into next year's winter season. We are working on an agreement with the school district, and I hope to have more information for the city council at the next work session. Other than that, before we go into any executive session, I do have 4 items, both all personnel related, no action to be taken, but I'll see if there are any questions from the city council. Sorry for all the updates. It's been a while since I've seen you.
So you have 4 for personnel.
4 personnel items, no action to be taken. Yes?
I guess not a question directly related to that, but I would like to thank, and I think we should have a proclamation and invite the Eagle Scout who built the bench from the Cathedral Oaks. There was a picture of Dan Stone, and I apologize that I cannot remember.
Gary
Moffett. Thank you. But I think we owe it. It was a very nice article, and proud to see an Eagle Scout took that on as a project, and I think we as a council should recognize him and do something to show him our appreciation as a council and as a community. And since it's in the 4th Ward, I guess I had to bring it up. So, thank you. I hope you will take it under advisement.
Perfect, Marie. We will we'll invite Gary to the next city council voting session. Gary, I had the pleasure of meeting Gary during COVID, actually, and he was just getting ready to start his Eagle Scout project, and that is one of the things he wanted to do and is very passionate about. So I will reach out to him and his father and try to invite them to the next city council voting session.
Thank you.
On a personal level on that one, they were my neighbor when I lived in Ward 4, and I remember when they walked over and let us know they were having another kid that was Gary that they were pregnant with, so. Great. Getting old.
You're that old?
Not getting old.
And President Doltz, I do have an item for executive session regarding personnel, no action to be taken.
Okay, so we have 5 executive session items under personnel. Anything else before we move on? A motion?
I'll move to executive
Second.
session personnel.
All in favor?
If we could have